So now we'll go into, is there any other questions on that one?
Yeah, you said you got that 3-year rotation with
Yeah.
the apartment complex. Are they still bidding out every year?
No, we're their preferred vendor. So every year they have a company, a local company, come in and pressure wash, and then we do every 3 years and do the deep clean.
Okay.
So we set ourselves up to be the professional deep cleaning. We treat everything. That's how we still get those $40,000 tickets when the guy's coming in at 7, 8, pressure washing it. So, or the maintenance guys maintain it. A lot of times I like to leave, on one of my management companies, I have a regional manager. I leave a drum of sodium hypochlorite because he fills his pump up spares up and he goes through and he spot cleans.
Nice.
I was like, yeah, we want it. You're, helping them out. You scratch their back, they'll scratch your back. And then every 3 years we just do a deep clean and it works out well. Because I tell them, look, I can't go out to Baton Rouge, Louisiana for, under 10 grand. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? And then a lot of times, sometimes we'll even call local guys. Like they're like, hey, look, this is all I got in the budget, but we're just spot cleaning stuff. Hey, in between that 3 years, I'll have somebody in our network and say, hey, can you go down there and do this? And it works out really well. I had Green Tiger Soft Wash. He did like 3 or 4 buildings or apartment complexes for me, while my other 2 crews were doing 4. So we had a whole tour. We like to do tours where they cluster them all together for us, and we can give them a price break, multi-property price break. So we'll put them all together, and then they get 10% off or 20% off max if they do a multi-property. So like if this property is near 5 others, we'll give them 20% off, and then really get them in, and they love that. But we're still making a killing, you know what I mean?
Well, when you came to Maryland, that was what, 6, 7 properties?
Yeah, 7 properties.
Like 7 days or something?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, six. So it was like $60,000. Might have been a little bit more than $60,000.
But that was the same
6
thing.
days.
You brought John on to help you with that because
Yeah.
you're newer guys and stuff. So
Yeah, we had one guy that didn't even bring a ladder. That couldn't clean roofs.
No, Robert couldn't get on the roof.
We can't say names, but you're right.
Yeah.
That person couldn't get on roofs. He was afraid. But I sent him the site map for the roof cleaning that we were doing, and he said, "Great." I think he saw what he was gonna make, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." And then he got there and he didn't even bring a ladder. So and then I had to redo his whole equipment. I gave him the hose off my truck.
I gave him fittings off my unit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like
So-
he needed to go home.
Yeah. Sounds like Robert was a smart one, actually.
So then that day I had to have a meeting with him and say, look, you're not getting, because I forget what he got. I think he was going to get 20 grand that week if he was going to do it. And so I was like, look, man, you're not performing. And so he had to basically take that money out of his thing
And give it
to John.
Yeah.
I said, look, I love you. Gotta get it done.
Good night.
Yeah. And then likewise, if you got a tennis court, right click, get the measurement, bid your tennis court, anything you could bid on the property here, you're gonna walk around and do it real quick. Then you're gonna put together the proposal and send it to the property manager, right? And then they're gonna send it up for approval.
So you send them a digital and a print off?
No, I just do digital.
Digital.
The print off can get kind of time consuming, if you will, but the digital works really good.
Yeah.
I think they have to keep it on too for 2 years in their folder for proposals. So they got to keep it on file for 2 years. So the digital works out fine. So that's that one. Is there anything? I know a couple guys had some projects you wanted to look at. Do you have an address we want to pop in and look at real quick? We can look at yours. Yeah, let's look at yours. Perfect.
These are all shop punch units in there, but I've only put in this one like 20, it's 2106, it's Woodbridge Commons Way.
Okay, so that's the address, 2106. Okay, cool. And then these are just all units for
Right,
you?
those were different units that
Okay.
popped up as being available, but that one brings
Okay.
up the whole site plan.
So 2106. I'm going to get to your question too. I heard you. Just hold on one second. You want to pull one up too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody else. I think JC's got one too.
2106.
Pat, here's one. Breezeways.
That's what I was asking about.
Some breezeways.
Yep, that's it, the top one.
The top one? So yeah, breezeways, same things. You can pull it up on Google Earth and you can see where the walkways go. If they have 2 breezeways in there, I charge, so if they're like one story breezeways and they have like 2, that's like $125. If they have 2 stories, you're talking anywhere from like $175, $225, and usually you can even do $100 per story if you wanted to. Yeah, per floor, yeah. Yep.
Do you hit
So-
all that with heat?
No,
No.
no, we just
No,
go in there,
because-
soft wash it, and then booster pump, rinse that thing down.
Yeah,
and
they
get
do
it-
it. They got the smoke detectors in there.
Yeah.
And the steam will set them off.
Exactly, and we cover the smoke detectors and the pull down with rubber gloves, with the 6 mil rubber gloves. You just basically stretch them out, put them over it, and start spraying, and you're good to go.
So I learned.
Yes, sir.
I was making sure I heard you right. You said 175 to 225 per floor.
No. You can do $100 per floor, but if they're like really nasty, you'll do like 125 per floor. You can do 150 per floor. I get anywhere from $100 per floor, and sometimes the 2 stories or 3 stories, if they're not bad, I'll do $250 for 3-story ones. If we're doing the whole package, right? The buildings, the roofs, and everything. So start at $100 per floor.
Now, if you got like the electrical, you know, from the, like, electric lines coming into the house, what's the best way you're cleaning around that? Because, I mean, obviously you don't want to soak, you know, in the.
Yeah, if you're getting a main power line, I was doing this down in Savannah. I was actually doing a roof cleaning. The power came right into the roof.
Yeah.
You stand back and you lightly mist around it. Don't spray those wires. They're protected. They have covers on them and everything because they're supposed to be waterproof. And they're in that little box that the wires come up in. Just spray around it nice. If you got to tweak the wand a little bit.
Well, like the one that I just did the other day,
Mhm.
you know, it was up at the peak of the house. So if you sprayed up,
Oh yeah, you would
you're
hit it no
spraying
matter what.
under the shield. So what I did is I just left like a 2-3 inch and then just went up and, you know.
Yeah, you can take a brush around those ones. Just
Yeah.
make sure you don't hit it with the brush pole.
Right.
I'll spray above it and kind of let it rain on it, and then kind of let the water rain on it.
Right.
Just be really careful around those things. And like some of the power boxes, I don't even spray. Like we're getting an apartment complex, and you got a wall of those power boxes. I tell them, look, we're not spraying that
Right.
because I don't want to be liable for all the power going out. You got to buy all that stuff. Mm-mm.
So Pat,
Not
you're
just-
saying to do the actual apartment complex, spraying it is a different price from doing the breezeway?
Yeah. Yeah, you got exteriors, you got breezeways, you got roofs, you got gutters, you got concrete, right? Those are 5 line items. You don't do the buildings and include the breezeways. Don't do that. You're leaving money on the table.
What are some liability points, like you just pointed out, besides electrical boxes that?
The fire, yep, signs. So if you're doing hotels, for instance, I got blamed for putting lights out on a hotel.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring
You want to check the night before on the hotel to make sure the lights are working. Have your territory manager drive out there, take a picture of the lights working in the morning, before it gets light. This one company, we did a Hampton Inn up in Gaffney. It was like $5,000 job. We cleaned it, and the guy called. He didn't want to pay. I was like, "Why don't you want to pay?" He's like, "You destroy my lights." And I was like, "We didn't destroy your lights. We're using soft washing." He explained all that stuff, right? Well, come to find out, I called my buddy that actually does retrofitting for lights for those buildings, and he's like, "Is that the Hampton Inn in Gaffney?" "Yeah." Why? "Oh yeah, we've been out there like 6 times trying to fix that light, and the guy doesn't want to pay to actually get it done right. He keeps putting Band-Aids on it." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." So what I did was, we went out there one day, we put a lien on the building, and then we went out there and we held signs out, and it said, "This hotel stiffed my dad," and my kids were putting it out. The guy called the police and everything. We stood in the right-of-way, and the cop couldn't do anything about it. And so anyway, went to corporate, put the lien on the building. Within a week, I had a check.
Yeah, those liens are powerful. I've done that.
Yep.
That's awesome.
What other areas besides the,
Just electrical, fire. If you're doing a parking garage, the elevator. Make sure the elevator is up top, not at the bottom.
okay.
Light fixtures. Yes, Jack.
Don had a really good point that I wanted you to touch on.
Oh yeah. What do you got, Don?
Oh, doing breezeways?
Yeah.
If the first floor is below ground and they don't have a drainage system, you better charge up for that, buddy, because you're gonna be working.
Yep. So drainage.
Squeegee, yeah.
Yeah, squeegee. We had to extract stuff, right, Don?
Yeah,
We did an apartment complex. It went down. You know how it's got that downward, so it kind of goes split level. At the bottom, it didn't have a drain, and we had to literally pump the water out. So we surface clean and pump it out, or a reclaim unit. We just got done in North Carolina. We rented a reclaim unit from one of the distributors here, and brought the reclaim unit up to Charlotte and did all of it reclaim. So, and we charge for that. Reclaim and all that stuff is extra time and money.
Expect every door to have a bad seal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You do the oil socks or water booms at the bottom. Cover those up. WD-40 in the locks when you're cleaning that stuff. because you do not want calls all throughout the night. The maintenance guys calling you. These guys can't get in their apartment because it crystallized and it's stuck. Don't just spray those doorknobs if you're doing soft washing in the breezeways.
Just spray them.
Just spray them with WD-40 right in the lock.
Yeah, I just put a little piece of tape over it.
Yeah, you can tape it if you want. Yeah, yep. Tape it and go.
We learned last year, we set off 4 fire alarms at one apartment. We plastic around, taped around everything, and the water still managed to get in there.
Yep.
And water actually got down into the riser room on one of them.
Oh wow.
And so we learned that now you gotta call or set it on test mode so the fire trucks, they came out 4 times.
Yep, it's on test mode. That way, it'll go off, or no, it won't go off because it's on test mode, right?
Yeah, or at least it won't
It
send
won't
it won't send an
dispatch
alert.
to the fire
Yeah, it
truck.
won't send an alert. Because fire department said they're gonna charge me. I'm like, you can charge the apartment complex, you're not charging me anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
I ended up bringing like 6 cases of Powerade to the fire department the next day.
Oh, nice.
Because they came out 4 times. But
Wow. Yeah. But that's awesome. You did that. Brought the fire department power because they came out and they appreciate that. So you got to put them on test mode though. 'Cause we had that happen too. I'm out of town.
I had that happen on my very first commercial clean, very first one. They did all their office buildings, ended up freaking out the elevators and the fire alarms. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem, man. We've been having some issues with those for a while. I'm like, are you sure? We, call the insurance company. Like, no, we'll take care of it. It's all good. And they've hired me for a bunch of other stuff since then. So
Nice. Yeah.
I figured I was one and done with them. And then they called me to do some more stuff. I was like, sweet.
Yeah. So these ones are bigger, bigger apartment complexes. And you see how cut up these are?
yeah.
So these are intense, right? That's a lot of detail and everything. You got to get up high. They're probably going to want these chimneys done. These are detailed. So these are going to be higher dollar per unit, right? These aren't going to be your $30, $40 per unit buildings. These are going to be, your $100, $200, $300, depending on what you're doing. So did you know how many units are in here?
No.
Total. So we don't know how many units are in here. But say they call for a proposal. Now we're looking at it. We see the roof slopes and everything. Everything's walkable. We can get that from the roof. We got angles everywhere. But now I'm going to call and I'm going to get the units. How many units it is? This one's difficult to measure from, above too because you have all those surfaces and stuff. But you can kind of get the general square footage of it. But I would do this per unit and by time. So I look at that. Time, square footage, units. That way I'll get an accurate price. And I'll know how many I could do in a day, right? Because you could probably do, I would say 1.5 of these in a day, right?
That's what we're thinking.
So
They are big.
yeah, they're big. So you could probably do 1.5. If you can even say, okay, let's slow it down. Let's do 1 a day. So you know how much you got to make. On commercial, I say I want to make $2,000 a day on commercial. So that's a $2,000 building, right? Then I'll break that down per unit. So say there's 24 units in there. Actually, let's say that there's not going to be 24 units. Say there's going to be 8 or 9 units in there, right? Because they're bigger, they're condo type thing. So we know we need $2,000 times, we'll say 8 units.
Is that called what's the name of that place? Crossings at 1?
No, it's Woodbridge Commons.
So $2,000 divided by 8 is what? $250 a unit. So that's how we know $250 a unit. And I'll put that in there. So then you got one building. We got one building. Now we know, say the whole project, if there's 8 units in one building, and say you got how many buildings? So,
That was the first thing we looked at.
so that's what we'll look at. So then we'll go out, we'll zoom out, and then we'll count the buildings, right? So we know, so that's one building. Look at that. That thing's a monster, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So shoot, there's 22 buildings on this thing. So 22 buildings times 2,000 is $44,000, right? No worries. So you can see how we're kind of breaking it down. We're taking that big monster, breaking it down. So it's 44,000. And then once you get the units, we don't know the units on here. Then you break it down per unit. So see how that's rolling out? But I'm going to call and I'm going to say, hey, how many units do you have? great. And then you're gonna get into the sister property thing later on. But that's what you wanna do there. And then,
Time for another one?
what's that?
Oh, you still on this?
Yeah, still, you ready to do yours?
Nah, when you finish. I ain't gonna rush.
Okay.